I've cleaned office buildings for 16 years, but nothing prepared me for what happened that Tuesday night in October. My name is Ethan Carter, and when I found that wallet under a mahogany desk on the 25th floor stuffed with $12,000 in cash, every instinct told me to keep it. God knows I needed it, but my father raised me better than that, so I decided to return it. The address inside led me straight to 50128 Willow Creek Drive, my childhood home, the house I hadn't seen since I was 8 years old. When I knocked on that door, my heart was already racing, but nothing could have prepared me for who answered. The man standing there looked exactly like me, just 20 years older, with the same crooked nose, the same scar above the right eyebrow, even the same way of standing with his weight slightly on his left foot. His face went white as paper when he saw me. Then his eyes filled with tears, and he grabbed the door frame like he might collapse. "Dear God," he whispered, his voice breaking. "Ethan, is it really you?" Before I could ask how he knew my name, before I could process what I was seeing, he said the words that shattered everything I thought I knew about my family. "I'm Henry Carter, your uncle, your father's twin brother, the one George told everyone was dead." The wallet slipped from my hand and hit the porch with a thud that seemed to echo forever. 30 years of lies, 30 years of secrets, and they all came crashing down with those $12,000 scattered at our feet. This man, this ghost who wore my face, had been alive all along. And my father, the most honest man I ever knew, had lied to me every single day until he died. But the truth about why he lied, the secret that destroyed two brothers who loved each other more than life itself, that would change everything I believed about family forgiveness and the price we pay to protect the ones we love. I cleaned the Liberty Financial Tower in downtown Cleveland every night from 11:00 p.m. to 7:00 a.m. I push my cart through empty hallways, emptying trash bins and wiping down desks where people make more in a day than I make in a month. But I'm not bitter about it. After my wife Linda died 4 years ago from cancer, the quiet nights gave me something I desperately needed. Peace. Just me. My headphones playing old Motown and floors that needed mopping. No sympathy, looks, no awkward conversations, no empty house waiting for me. My father, George Carter, raised me alone after my mother left when I was 8. He was a locksmith who ran his business out of a van that always smelled like WD-40 and metal shavings. Honest work for an honest man. He had thick hands scarred from years of handling keys and locks, and he'd ruffle my hair with those same hands every morning before school. "Work hard, stay honest, and you'll sleep good at night," he'd tell me. Never talked about family beyond us. Said we were all we needed, and I believed him. Dad died 6 years ago, 2 years before Linda got sick. Heart attack at his workbench, still holding his favorite lockpick set. The paramedic said he went quick. No pain. I hope that's true. At his funeral, only 6 people showed up, including me. No extended family, no cousins or uncles or distant relatives, just a few customers whose locks he'd changed over the years. I thought I was the last Carter left in the world. That Tuesday in October started like any other night. I'd eaten my dinner in the break room. Leftover spaghetti that tasted like cardboard while Jerry from maintenance complained about his ex-wife, and Marin showed everyone pictures of his new grandson. My supervisor, Vince Rodriguez, called in sick around 9:30, coughing so hard I had to hold the phone away from my ear. "Listen, Ethan," he wheezed between coughs. "You gotta cover the executive floor tonight, the 25th. Big boss is coming tomorrow for some board meeting and everything needs to be perfect. That's not my floor, Vince. That's Terrence's floor. Terrence is in Miami at his daughter's wedding. Come on, man. I'm dying here just this once. Make sure you get under every desk check, every corner. These executives notice everything." The 25th floor was a different world from the regular offices I cleaned. When the elevator doors opened, I stepped onto marble floors so polished I could see my reflection. The air smelled like expensive leather, and that specific scent of money, like fresh $100 bills. Mahogany desks sat in offices bigger than my entire apartment. Original artwork hung on the walls, not those printed motivational posters about teamwork and excellence that decorated the lower floors. I started with the smaller offices, working my way toward the corner suite. Each desk had a nameplate that probably cost more than my weekly paycheck. Harrison, Blackwood, Morrison, Thompson. These were the people who ran the city from their leather chairs, making decisions that affected thousands of people like me without ever knowing our names. The corner office belonged to C. Thompson, according to the gold nameplate, Chief Financial Officer. The space was immaculate, with floor-to-ceiling windows showing the entire Cleveland skyline. The city lights twinkled below like fallen stars. Linda would have loved this view. She always said the city looked different from up high, like all its problems got smaller. I was mopping under the massive mahogany desk when my mop handle knocked something loose. It must have been wedged between the desk base and the carpet. I bent down my knees, creaking in protest, and picked up a leather wallet. Not just any wallet, but the expensive kind with hand stitching and butter-soft leather that probably came from some special cow in Italy. The monogram read CT in gold letters. My first thought was that C. Thompson must stand for something else. Charles Thomas Thompson. Maybe Christopher Theodore. Rich people always had those kinds of names. I should have just put it in the lost and found box. Should have logged it with security and gone back to mopping. But something made me open it, and when I did, my hands started trembling so bad I had to sit down right there on Thompson's expensive carpet. Inside were 5 thick bands of $20 bills each, wrapped in a paper band marked $2,000. $12,000 in cash. No credit cards, no driver's license, no business cards, just the money, and a small folded piece of paper tucked behind the bills. When I unfolded it, my heart stopped. The address, written in careful handwriting, was 5128 Willow Creek Drive, my childhood home. The house where Dad raised me until that terrible year when everything changed. I sat in that executive office for 20 minutes just staring at the wallet in my hands. $12,000. The bills were crisp and new, like they'd come straight from the bank. I did the math in my head automatically. 4 months of rent, the transmission repair for my truck that I'd been putting off, the dental work I needed but couldn't afford. Maybe even a small headstone upgrade for Linda's grave. Something better than the flat marker I could barely manage. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Part of me wanted to stuff the wallet in my pocket and walk out like nothing happened. Who carries $12,000 in cash anyway? Drug dealers, tax evaders, people who wouldn't dare report it missing. The security cameras on this floor had been broken for months. According to Terrence, nobody would ever know. But then I heard my father's voice in my head, clear as if he was standing right beside me. Character is what you do when nobody's watching. Ethan, he told me that when I was 12 and found a $20 bill at the grocery store. Made me turn it in to customer service even though I wanted to buy that new video game all my friends had. Sleep comes easy when your conscience is clear, son. The address changed everything, though. 5128 Willow Creek Drive. I hadn't thought about that house in years. Trained myself not to, but seeing it written there brought everything flooding back. The willow tree in the front yard where Dad built me a tire swing. The basement where he taught me to use tools. The kitchen where Mom made blueberry pancakes every Sunday until she didn't anymore. We left that house when I was 8, right after Mom disappeared. One day, she was there. The next day, Dad was packing our things into boxes, his face like stone. "Your mother's gone, Ethan. She's not coming back." That's all he ever said about it. We moved to a cramped apartment across town, and he sold the house within a week. Never explained why we had to leave so fast. Never explained why Mom left. Never explained anything. I pulled out my phone and called my cousin Susan before I could stop myself. She lived in St. Louis now, but kept track of all the family history, had one of those ancestry accounts and everything. If anyone would know about someone with the initials CT, it would be her. Ethan. She sounded surprised. It's almost midnight. Is everything okay? Hey, Sue. Quick question. You ever heard of someone with initials CT in our family? The silence on the other end stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. Why are you asking about this? Her voice had changed, gotten careful. Just curious. Found something at work with those initials. Ethan, your father had a brother, Henry, but George always said he died before you were born. Car accident out in California. My throat went dry. You sure he died? That's what your father told everyone. Made a big deal about being an only child after that. Said it was too painful to talk about. I only know because my mom mentioned it once when she'd had too much wine at Christmas. She said it was strange how there were no funeral arrangements, no obituary, nothing. Just George's word that Henry was gone. Did you ever meet him, Henry? No, nobody did. He was already dead by the time I was born. Ethan, what's this about? You're scaring me. I hung up without answering. My father never lied to me. Not once in 30 years. When my goldfish died, he didn't tell me it went to a farm upstate. When I asked if Mom was coming back, he didn't give me false hope. He was honest, even when it hurt. So why would he lie about a brother? The next morning, instead of turning in the wallet to building security like I should have, I drove to Willow Creek Drive. My shift ended at 7:00 a.m., and by 7:30 I was parked outside my childhood home. The neighborhood looked frozen in time. Mrs. Rodriguez still had the same garden gnomes, just more weathered. The Pattersons' house still had that ugly green trim, just more faded, but 5128 looked different. New windows with expensive frames, fresh paint in a color Mom would have called sophisticated gray. The tire swing was gone, replaced by professional landscaping. Someone with money lived there now. Someone with the initials CT, who kept $12,000 in cash like it was pocket change. I sat in my truck for 10 minutes, engine running, arguing with myself, return the wallet and get answers or drive away and pretend I never found it. Finally, I grabbed the wallet, walked up the pathway I'd run down 1,000 times as a kid, and knocked on the door of my childhood home. Hold on, a voice called from inside, and my stomach dropped. The voice was familiar in a way that made no sense, like hearing a recording of yourself that you don't remember making. Footsteps approached, measured and heavy, the same rhythm as my father's walk. The door opened, and I nearly fell backward off the porch. The man who answered was me, but aged 20 years into the future. Same nose that curved slightly left from when I broke it playing baseball. Same scar above the right eyebrow from falling off my bike. Same hands that were just a little too large for the arms, what Linda used to call my puppy paws when we first started dating. His hair was gray, where mine was still black. Lines creased his face where mine was still smooth. But looking at him was like staring into a time machine mirror. We stood there frozen, both of us trying to process the impossible. His face went through a series of expressions: confusion, recognition, shock, and then something that looked like grief. "Dear God," he whispered, gripping the doorframe with both hands. "Ethan, you're Ethan Carter. How do you know my name?" His eyes filled with tears that he didn't try to hide. "Because I'm Henry. Henry Carter. Your uncle. Your father's twin brother." Twin brother. The words hit me like physical blows. Dad never mentioned a twin. Never mentioned any siblings at all in 30 years. Not one single mention of having an identical brother walking around in the world. "You're supposed to be dead," I said, my voice sounding strange and distant. "Car accident in California before I was born." In a way I was. He stepped aside, gesturing for me to come in. "Please come inside. You have my wallet." I held it up, still trying to reconcile this man's face with the lies I'd been told. $12,000 just carrying that around my office. I'm the CFO at Liberty Finance. C. Thompson is my professional name." He laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Small world, right? George's boy cleaning my office. If that's not cosmic intervention, I don't know what is." I followed him inside my childhood home that wasn't my home anymore. Everything was different. The walls Mom painted yellow were now stark white. The carpet where I played with toy cars was replaced with hardwood. The whole place looked like a magazine spread expensive and cold, and nothing like the warm house where I grew up. He led me to the kitchen, which still had the same layout, but with granite counters and stainless steel appliances where our old yellow refrigerator used to hum. This was where Dad made dinosaur pancakes every Saturday, where Mom taught me to tie my shoes, where our family fell apart. "Coffee?" Henry asked, already pulling out 2 mugs like he knew I'd say yes. "Answers," I said, sitting at a table that probably cost more than my truck. He poured the coffee anyway, his hands shaking slightly. "I don't even know where to start. How much did George tell you about me?" "Nothing. Absolutely nothing. You were dead. That's all I ever knew. And your mother?" "What did he say about why she left? Just that she was gone and wasn't coming back?" "I was 8. That's all he'd tell me." Henry sat down heavily across from me. "Your father and I were inseparable growing up. Irish twins, people called us, even though we were identical. Did everything together. Went to the same trade school, him for locksmithing, me for accounting. Best man at each other's weddings. Our wives were sisters. Did you know that?" What my coffee mug stopped halfway to my mouth. "Carol and Diane, your mom and my wife. They were sisters 2 years apart. We met them at the same party, married them a year apart, bought houses next door to each other. It was perfect. The 4 of us and our boys. Boys, I have a cousin." His face crumpled. "Had. My son David, 3 months older than you. You two were inseparable, just like George and me. Did everything together until he got sick. I don't remember any cousin named David. You were 7 when he died. Leukemia. Fought for a year, but we lost him right before his 8th birthday. That's when everything started falling apart." "Why would Dad lie about that? Why would he tell me you were dead?" Henry stood up, walked to the window that overlooked the backyard where I used to play. "Because of what I did after David died. Because of how I betrayed him. Because he saved my life. And the price was that I had to stay dead." He turned back to me, and the pain on his face was so familiar it hurt. It was the same expression Dad had whenever I asked about Mom, or why we left this house. "Your father was the best man I ever knew. Ethan and I destroyed everything he loved, trying to save myself from grief." Henry walked to a cabinet and pulled out a manila folder, his hands trembling as he set it on the table between us. Inside were newspaper clippings yellowed with age. The headline on top read, "Cleveland Union robbery attempt, foiled suspect still at large." "After David died, I lost my mind," he said, his voice flat and mechanical, like he'd rehearsed this confession 1,000 times. "Diane tried to help me, but I pushed her away. Started drinking heavily, gambling whatever money we had left after the medical bills. Lost my job at the bank where Id worked for 10 years. Lost our house. Lost everything. Diane took what little we had left and went to live with her sister in Oregon. Her sister, my mother. No, their older sister, Margaret. Your mother stayed here trying to hold your family together while watching mine disintegrate. George tried to help me, gave me money, found me jobs. Let me sleep on your couch when I had nowhere else to go. But I was drowning in grief and rage, and I couldn't see anything except the unfairness of it all. Why did my boy die while yours got to live? Why was George's family whole while mine was shattered?" He pulled out a photo from the folder. 2 boys in baseball uniforms, arms around each other's shoulders, gap-toothed grins identical in their joy. "That's you and David 2 weeks before he got sick." I stared at the photo, and suddenly a memory surfaced. a boy who shared his candy, a boy who helped me build forts in the backyard, a boy who disappeared. And then everyone was sad, and then we moved away. Your father had just gotten a contract to install new locks at the Cleveland Credit Union. Henry continued. Biggest job he'd ever landed. He had all the keys, all the codes, everything. The old system and the new system. For 1 week, he basically had complete access to the bank. My stomach turned. No, he wouldn't. He didn't. But I knew about the job, knew about the access. I was desperate broken, convinced that money would fix everything. I could get Diane back, start over, maybe even have another child. I begged George to help me. Just open the doors, I said. He'll do the rest. Well, split it. No one gets hurt. What did he say? He threw me out of your house, told me I was dishonoring David's memory, said his son deserved better than a thief for a father. He was right, but I was too far gone to see it. Henry sat back down, looking older with each word. So I stole his work keys while he was sleeping, made copies at a 24-hour hardware store, returned them before he woke up, and planned everything for the following Friday night. You robbed the bank. No. He shook his head slowly. I went there, stood at the door at 2:00 a.m., with the keys in my hand. I put the key in the lock, started to turn it, and then I saw my reflection in the glass. I saw what I'd become, this twisted, broken thing that David wouldn't recognize. I stood there crying, thinking about my son, about George, about everything I was about to destroy, and I couldn't do it. I left, went to a bar instead, and drank until they threw me out. Then, why the newspaper, I asked. Because someone else robbed that bank the same night, 3 hours after I left. They used the same entry points I'd planned to use. The security footage was conveniently corrupted, but the police found my fingerprints on the door handle. The bartender remembered me but couldn't pin down exact times. I was drunk, desperate with motive and means, and my prints at the scene. They arrested you. They came to arrest me. George got there first, told me to pack whatever I could carry, gave me $5,000, all the cash he had saved, told me to run, start over, never contact anyone again. Said Henry Carter died in a car accident out west, and whoever I became next better be worthy of the second chance. But what about the police? George gave me an alibi. Told them I'd been with him all night helping with inventory at his shop. His word carried weight, had never had so much as a parking ticket. They investigated him for months, but George never cracked, never changed his story, even when they threatened to charge him as an accessory. Who really robbed the bank? They never caught them. The investigation went cold after 6 months. But George paid for my freedom. His reputation was damaged. Clients stopped trusting him. Your mother couldn't handle the shame, the whispers, the police showing up at all hours. She left 8 months after I disappeared. She left because of you, I said quietly. She left because of what I did to George, to our family, to everything we built, Henry whispered. She left because of what I'd done to your father, to our family, to everything we'd built. And George let her go because he knew she deserved better than the mess he'd created. He sold the house to pay for the lawyer he needed to keep the police away. Moved you to that apartment. Started over with just the two of you. Henry stood up and walked to a safe hidden behind a painting on the wall. I hadn't noticed it before, but then again nothing in this house was what it seemed anymore. He spun the combination and pulled out stack after stack of cash, placing them on the table until they formed a small mountain between us. $250,000, he said, quietly. I've been saving it for 30 years. Every bonus, every raise, every investment return. It was supposed to go to George. I was going to find the courage to face him to make things right. But he died before I could. Heart attack alone at his workbench. I didn't even know until I read the obituary 3 days later. This is guilt money, I said. No, Henry replied softly. This is love money. Every dollar earned honestly. Every dollar a reminder of what George sacrificed for me. It's yours now, your inheritance, what your father should have had. I stood up, dropped his wallet on the table next to all that cash. Keep your money, both amounts. Ethan, please. You don't understand. I've been watching you for years. He pulled something else from the safe, a photo album. Look, inside were pictures of me throughout my life. My high school graduation taken from the back of the auditorium. My wedding to Linda shot from across the church parking lot. Linda's funeral where I stood alone in the rain while everyone else had left. My father's burial captured from behind a tree. You were there at Dad's funeral. I've been at every important moment, Henry said quietly. Always in the back, always in the shadows. A ghost, watching the life I gave up. Watching George raise you to be the man I couldn't be. Watching you become everything David might have been. That's when he really broke down. Not gentle tears, but body-shaking sobs that seemed to come from somewhere deep and broken inside him. This successful man in his expensive house was falling apart in the kitchen where we once ate meals as a complete family. I have everything he choked out. Money, position, respect. The executives at Liberty Finance think him brilliant. And I'd traded every penny, every achievement for one more day with my brother. One more chance to tell him I'm sorry. One more moment to thank him for saving my worthless life. I stood there watching the stranger who wore my face cry for the brother who raised me, for the father who kept his secrets for the family that one moment of desperation destroyed. He forgave you, I said finally. Henry looked up, hope flickering in his eyes. How do you know? Because he never told me the truth. He could have explained why Mom left, why we lost everything. He could have made you the villain to make himself the hero, but he didn't. He protected you even in your absence. That's forgiveness. Or shame. No. Dad didn't do shame. He did love even when it hurt. Especially when it hurt. I made a decision then. Get your coat. What? We're going to visit Dad. An hour later, we stood at George Carter's headstone in Willowbrook Cemetery. It was a simple marker. Nothing fancy. Beloved father. Honest man. That's all it said. That's all it needed to say. Henry fell to his knees on the wet grass, talking to the stone like Dad could hear him, apologizing, explaining, thanking, crying. 30 years of words spilling out into the October air. I stood back and let him talk. Let him purge the poison he'd been carrying. He said something before he died. I told Henry when he finally went quiet. I didn't understand it then. He said, "Take care of your family. Ethan, even the ones you can't see." I thought he was talking about Mom wherever she is. But he was talking about you. Henry comes for dinner now every Sunday. We don't talk about the money which he donated to the Leukemia Foundation in David's name. We talk about Dad, about David, about the years we lost and the time we have left. He offered me a job at Liberty Finance, a real position with benefits and a salary that would change my life. I turned it down. I'm still cleaning offices at night, pushing my cart through empty hallways. But now I understand something Dad always knew: honest work isn't about what you do, but how you do it. Sometimes, Henry joins me on my shifts, the CFO of a Fortune 500 company mopping floors at 2:00 a.m., telling stories about him and Dad as kids. Last week, I found another wallet. This time, I didn't hesitate, returned it immediately to its grateful owner. Henry was with me and he smiled. George would be proud, he said. He was proud, I corrected, of both of us. If you're watching this, remember that family isn't just blood. It's the choices we make, the secrets we keep to protect each other, the forgiveness we offer even when it hasn't been earned. And sometimes, just sometimes, what looks like a curse turns out to be a blessing. That wallet gave me back the family I never knew I'd lost. If this story touched you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment about your own family, the complicated, messy, beautiful truth of it. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more stories about the extraordinary moments hidden in ordinary lives. Thank you for listening.